Today we're going to be talking about word problems. We talked about word problems last week as well, but this week we've got a worksheet that has a little bit different style to it than last week's did. So what is a word problem? Like we said last week, a word problem is a real life situation that you can use math to find a solution for. We talked about the 4-step approach to solving a word problem. And the first step is you have to understand the word problem. The second step is you have to figure out each individual step that's needed to solve the problem. The next step is to do the calculation and then finally check the calculation. So let's get started. You'll pull out this sheet that you should have seen in your take-home packet. Let's put this a little bit closer here. So this is the one we're doing here. There are 8 word problems. I'll do 2 of them with you. I'll do the first 2. I'll do this one here, this one, and this one here. So let's get started. So I'm going to read it to you. First thing we need to do is understand the problem. There are 7 houses in a cul-de-sac. Each house has 5 people living in it. How many people live in the cul-de-sac? Okay, we're starting out with a pretty simple one. Is there anything in here that you don't understand? That's the first question you got to ask. Some of you may not know what a cul-de-sac is. A cul-de-sac is basically when you're in a neighborhood, it's a roundabout. Not a roundabout, it's just a circle of road where houses are sitting. So basically it's a dead end of a road, but there's a circle and there's houses around it. So it's not too pertinent to this question, but it still helps to know. If we understand everything about the problem, the next thing we're going to do is figure out the steps needed to solve it, okay? So I'm going to read it again, and then we're gonna take down information that is going to help us solve the problem. There are 7 houses in a cul-de-sac. Okay. Each house has 5 people living in it. How many people live in the cul-de-sac? Okay, so I have given the most important information that there are 7 houses and there are 5 people living in each house. Okay, what is our strategy here? Our strategy is going to be to multiply 7 houses times 5 people per house. So we're going to multiply 7 by 5. We have a strategy. We have a plan of action. So the next thing we want to do is, before we actually do the multiplication on that, let me actually give, well, I'll do that later. Before we do the multiplication, we want to estimate. Now, you won't be able to estimate for every word problem. For this one, we can give a rough estimate. The reason we estimate is so that when we find our solution, it's a way for us to check if we're in the same ballpark as the calculation, okay? It's very easy to make a mistake, especially in more advanced word problems. It's very, very easy to make a mistake. So if you give an estimate, it's going to help you, see that mistake so that you don't overlook something. So the best way to do this is to round these numbers out. So the best I can do here is round this 7 to a 10. So in my head, I'm going to say, okay, instead of 7, I'm going to say this is 10, because it's easier to multiply by 10 than it is by 7, right? So I'm going to say 10 times 5. 10 multiplied by 5, I get 50, okay? So the estimation is going to be, since 10 is more than 7, so 7 here is less than 10, that means I'm going to have less than 50 people. Less than 50. So my answer should be less than 50. Why? Because I rounded this 7 up to a 10. All right, so the next step is to do the calculation. 7 times 5 is 35. Okay, we've done the calculation. How is this 35 houses? Is it 35 people? We have to get that right. it is 35 people because we have 7 houses and 5 people per house. So we have 35 people is our answer. Is that less than 50? Yes, it is. This is just it's not the easiest to do an estimation on this one, but it does match. So there's how we do it. We have done all the steps. We understood the problem. Let me get this real quick. We understood the problem. We figured out the steps necessary to solve the problem. We did the calculation, and then we checked the calculation. All right, let's do our next one. So again, if you want to follow along, it's going to be this one right here. I'll read it off. There are 15 pairs of shoes at Jasper's house. If there are 5 people in his family, how many pairs does each person likely have? Okay, so is there anything in this word problem that we don't understand? I don't think so. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing in here that would confuse me. So let's read it and write down the important information. There are 15 pairs of shoes at Jasper's house. 15 pairs of shoes at Jasper's house. If there are 5 people in his family, how many shoes does each person have? Okay, so what we have to do here is divide, actually I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. So what are we trying to do? What we're trying to do is find out how many pairs of shoes does each person likely have. Okay, so we won't actually know until we know, Jim has this many shoes or whoever, or Mark has this many shoes, but we're trying to figure out how many shoes people likely have. What we would have to do then is take how many shoes we have total, 15 pairs of shoes, and we're going to divide it by the amount of people, okay? That is going to be the best way to do it. So this is going to be a division problem. We have now just figured out the steps that we're going to need to take. Our next step is technically to find an estimation. With this one, these numbers are pretty well, they're easy enough for us to divide by. We don't have like a 17, or we don't have like a 6 or a 3. If anything's usually a 5 or a 15 or a 10 or a 20, it's probably the best you can get. No need to estimate for this one. So now we can just do the calculation. 15 divided by 5. What is 15 divided by 5? 3. So we have 15 people, we divide that by 15 shoes, divide that by 5, we have 3. Now, is it 3 people or 3 pairs of shoes? It is 3 pairs of shoes. So our answer to this would be each person is likely to have 3 pairs of shoes in Jasper's house. So that's how we did it. Those are obviously, one of those I did was multiplication, another was division. So you have 6 more problems. What you need to do is do these. They will either be multiplication or division. Make sure to reach out to me if you need any help. What we're going to keep doing is we'll keep going through word problems, and they'll add something new in every week. So be practicing your steps here, and what I'll do is I'll actually upload these steps online for you, probably in your notebook. Keep practicing these steps. That way when we get to the more complex word problems, you'll know how to solve them much more quickly. That's it. So until next time, we'll see you.